Hello and welcome back to All My Art and Soul. I'm Michelle Holden, the mixed media artist behind this channel, and this week is part 2 of the 4 paintings start to finish. If you missed part 1, I will have the card in the upper right hand side of the video here, and also you can just go onto the videos and find part 1, same title. So it all started with these 4 being taped together, painted as one solid, keeping in mind the quadrants and something overlapping where the seams met. And then I separated them and started treating them as individual paintings. So right now I've created lots of first layers. And so then my next step is to add some darks, because there's a lot of bright, medium, light, and put the darks in. As we finished last week's video, the different quadrants and shapes started to show themselves. So that's how I work. And I might not always work that way because our art process is always developing. So as you can see, I'm just putting in the darks and blacks, and I've been checking out some other videos, and I'm always looking for new ideas. And I think adding some blue, using a darker blue, would also really add to this, rather than just going to a harsh black. So in the upper right hand painting, you can see that I have this black shape wrapping around that nice big square quadrant with the small dots and the vertical 4 dots. And I really like what's happening there. Let's see if it stays or gets covered with another piece of collage. And that's what I'm doing first. I'm going in with the darks, so I have a balance of light, medium, and dark. Different shapes. I'm covering things that I like and I don't like, excuse me. And then I'll come in with another layer of collage. So right now, just trying to change that up with the all and scratch things in. I like the numbers that are there. Any of the odd shapes that, or too many polka dots, I'll cover. And right now I'm just focusing on darks. Probably next will be a very light turquoise or even white. And I'm treating them now. I'm all in front of me at the same time, but later on in the video, as the video gets going, I will just focus one at a time. So stay to the end, and if you're liking this content and enjoying abstract art and my art process, don't forget to like, subscribe, check out the Facebook group. The link is in the comments below the video. I have a shop where I will be adding abstract journal pages, abstract affirmation art pages, and things that I really think really turned out in a way to my collections in my shop. So the links are all there. Don't forget to check it out. Okay. What I'm noticing is I really like the long rectangular. I tend to do that first before I move in with collage pieces. Taking the eye to the edge, covering areas up. I haven't come in with a really light layer of paint yet, even though it's sitting right there in my palette or on my palette on the glass. And I will be leaving the colors that I'm using and coming in, and I know I went hunting for this specific turquoise. And this week, if you are in the Studio Sundays, I have a little video every Sunday. I call it Studio Sundays for our Facebook group. And right now, I'm focusing on creating interesting collage papers with my voice on it, sort of less commercial, changing up with shapes, more organic, or even if I do use a stencil, changing it around with some spraying water or whatever, and just seeing what happens with this same color palette. So I have some more uniform or similar colors in collage to go with my painting. So, oh, here we go. So finally realizing, why don't I come in and cover up some areas with some nice lights instead of so much black. So I'm trying to balance, and notice I'm more or less putting 3 or more shapes of black on these, and just keeping the quadrants or areas of 4, or not, maybe not even, because I know I'm not thinking that all the time. And you see how I'm mixing, trying to find that nice value and changing up the value in that area to create subtlety. Really important, but it's sort of just like a response. Don't want to do too much thinking during this process. Just want to look at what I like afterwards and then go in again and see what happens. So now that I just found, everything's just too much of a distraction, I'm going to do one at a time now, and now they'll become individuals, similar but not the same. And you can see that I adjusted my camera and brought it down, so this is way better. Okay, so loving the pieces of collage, very similar. Turquoise, the neutrals, yellows, oranges. Not too much orange, because I think what's going to happen here, it's going to be mostly turquoise, with the hero color being the ochre or orange or yellows from the color wheel, the opposite. I love any kind of leftovers, and that's a thicker, that's that I forget what that paper's called, but it's more like a cardstock. It's very shiny, and that's an old tool manual, any old manuals, and I'm trying to find architectural or interesting magazines and catalogs. And of course the paper it sort of tans or ages really nicely, so you get that nice yellowish old paper look. So I really like that. I made a ton of these. This is cartridge paper, so it's that student paper. It's a little thicker, and it's just stream writing with a brush and acrylic paint, I believe, not ink. I found the ink tends to run, even though it's permanent. I don't know what it is with that when I put a medium on it, but we'll see. So just moving my square or rectangular shape in and around. Notice I'm rotating it. It's still too busy, and I thought, well, why don't I surround all those dots with some black? Could have used the light here as well, but as I'm scratching it in, and the way that black is going against the turquoise with a nice soft shape, I'm really liking that shape that's happening. And it's bringing the eye from left to right, and then you're going down, so that's working. And so I think I'm going to put that to the side right now. And I'm running out of black, so I'm going back to the black again. Oh, yes, and these really work well. So I'm using just my little brush, and I know last week I showed you those really neat tools, those children's stamping tools, which are super. And this is really nice too. And so what caught my eye there was the diagonal movement of that orange shape. And I wanted to extend it with line. And when you have shape, and the best kind of things, or one of the best, is more line with your shape, beside it, over it, as a layer. So that's a great difference, shapes and then line. Keep that in mind. And I really like that piece. So here comes one of the other three. So I'll look at them, and what I'll do is what I just did to the previous piece will give me an idea to respond to the next one, and that keeps the things linked to the uniformity of what's going on, and you just constantly switching around, and that's why it's so great to work in a series. A lot of the times I've worked in series of 3. This time is 4. I thought, well, got one more painting in there, so great. And then the next one, after these are done, I'll be going back to the 12 by 12 wood panels, 12 inch by 12 inch wood panels, and then jump into bigger canvases, 20 by 20. I'm going over some old paintings, covering them with gesso, because they're just sitting around, and my work has changed so much. Time to paint over them and make something new out of old. And check that out too. Painting over old paintings. I do have a video in that in this series. Not this series, but on my channel. Okay, liking the China marker. It's such a soft edge and those little dots. So those are very detailed and exact. And that's a really nice difference with that more of a waxy feel. There's more of this old, what would you call it? I love the symbols and the shapes, the tools, the fan. A manual. Just a fixing up manual. And then sometimes, of course, when you flip it over, you sometimes like that side better, but not in this case. So I'm being careful as to, you can see that the text with that really nice calligraphy and the symbols below are sort of battling with each other. So I know I'll end up covering one, but just veiling it with a neutral, so I'll have to decide which will be better. Or maybe a narrow piece of collage will look really good in there. So I'm just sort of thinking ahead, but that's only right now because I'm doing the voiceover for my video. I probably was not thinking that. I know I stuck it in there and I thought, well, I'll put it in there anyway and we'll see which one I like. So you can do that as well. Now, what would go really well if I still had some is the neutral tissue paper, overlapping the black between those two neutral areas. That would be really cool. Okay, on to the next one. Which one will it be? Oh, I'm deciding. Oh, this is what I'm doing. So I'm looking at what I like there, seeing if any of that I might carry over. Oh, I see. It's so neat to try to remember what I was doing. So I really wanted to punch up the orange because it was a little dull. And of course, using the Hansa Yellow Deep, I believe, and then going over a little bit of that. And just all of a sudden, it just came to life. I like that more of a whitish rather than the yellow, but I really like how it just, bam. So, and it also makes that turquoise with the little dots on it more blue. So an opposite color in a particular ratio can make, in the smaller ratio, the larger one, say the turquoise, just appear more turquoise. And that was an orange mark, and I loved how it's peeking out, so I'm just leaving it there. And then that's what reminded me to use some more orange line with the Posca marker. Keeping, notice I'm keeping it in that composition, the subtlety, so it's not going to change it drastically. It's just going to add more subtlety. So really loving that. And thinking of some smaller dots. They probably weren't really necessary, but I liked how they're smaller and they reach lower. The pencil is a much better choice, adding that line in the background. So I know I'm coming not sort of the late middle stage when I start using pencil and doing fine lines, and I can't see anything more that I can change or add, so then it needs to sit and rest. And then coming into the finishing line. So right there, going directly across isn't working. It just divides it in half too much. Vertically, maybe, but I know I have to cut it down or narrow it up, one or the other. So that's what I'm deciding. I'm liking the circular fan below. I don't know if I keep it that wide. Let's see what I do. If I do, oh, I see. Notice I'm picking up the line of that black and carrying that vertical line all the way down. But I know I'm going to come in either with more collage or blue paint overlapping it. But you see how nicely it's going in that orange on the right, which I decide to cover with blue. Who knows? Now that definitely pops out. I don't know if I'll keep it there. It could be a little more neutral, but this is hindsight. Oh, I see. Yeah. So bringing that turquoise. I don't like the polka dots. Who knows what'll happen to those, but I'm really liking what I'm doing to the blue. Adding more of that turquoise. It was turning out way too warm, but I know I have some long, narrow strips of collage, not the stripes, but something else that's going to go in. It's sort of a silvery paper. That's interesting. Totally interesting. I think that'll work. So I created another shape using the negative, and I love that there's part of the next circle there. So I just use the X-Acto knife, trim it off, have some neutral with a different pattern. The polka dots are still there, but they're just not so overpowering. I really like that. Oh, yes. So that piece, notice the black with tissue paper. So when you put it over, it just melts away and you can still see the colors underneath. That is one of my favorite kind of layers. What's your favorite type of layer? Is it paint with collage? Is it tissue paper with collage? Is it drawing on top or through paint? What 2 or 3 layer combinations do you really like? So leave that in the comments. I love when a lot of you respond to the suggestions, and it's just really cool because this is like a little community of sharing and learning. That's what we're doing. Now I know this fits somehow. I'm just trying to figure out where. And if I get an idea and I like it, oh, I see. Interesting that I would have, I see what I was thinking. Yes, my sort of alignment. That's really interesting. I like that shape, but we're going to go with circle and hiding that underneath. That's really cool. Okay. And not covering that completely, but it's a bit of a distraction. So I think it's over too far. I'd like it more central. And let's see what I discover. So since it's all black, I start with a circle And I just keep trimming it up till I get the right size. It's still too close to the circle sizes that are already there. So I want to create more of a difference. Not bad, just not great. Too much of a contrast. I do believe I find a blue, then I decide, well, let's go with square and a little smaller. Forget the circle altogether. Well, that's really cool. See how it emulates the blue in the lower right-hand corner? More of that right-hand side. And then that's what makes me go, oh, well, let's just add some more blue. Let's exaggerate that. And getting the right hue, because when you put many different blues together and they're slightly different, warm, cool, it's really neat. Okay, I'm liking that a lot. More solid with the, below with the lines. You can still see some of those black lines from the black Posca marker. Yes, and using similar collage pieces on an area of paint that is similar. And you see that's a diagonal, it's showing the relationship. I like that. And it's just subtle. I don't know about those 2 white dots. I don't know if they'll stay. I can see, just something else working. So carrying that all the way up is better, but in a different way with paint. And maybe bringing some of that down so the eye can move down. I don't know about the color, but that's okay. It's just a response. We'll see what it looks like later. Here's this piece again. Or no, not again. This is the last one. And I decided let's get that camera closer so we can really see the details and the texture. So just applying some of this ochre. It probably, I find ochre it's really strong. This might be the yellow oxide, not the ochre, so I'd have to check. And it's still pretty powerful next to that nice orangey, whitish piece, that long, narrow. So I'll definitely go in and add another layer and lighten up the value. I know this piece needs to go there. I just can't figure out where and how. Interesting. I don't know. Put it to the side. Okay, so this one's a little trickier. There's so much still there. I just don't know what I want to cover up, which way it wants to go. That's interesting. Actually, very. Okay, and of course, that is a skin left from a palette and that I dry, and then I just cut them, I peel them, and then usually cut them in a blob, or leave them as a blob, or cut them in a sphere, a circle. Yes, so this one's can't decide. There's an even amount of orange and turquoise. That's what's going on, and those 2 circles are too similar in size, so that isn't going to work. So I need to trim it down, and I like the subtlety. Yes, it's just enough to catch your eye and go, oh, what's that? Very neat. And of course, going along the same plane is important to lead the eye straight down. Okay, let's see what I'm going to do with the teal. Take out some of the busyness. That's what needs to happen. Oh, I know what I do. Yes. So what caught me was this shape of this collage piece sort of reminded me of sort of the pentagon, my house shape that I like to use. Oh, my head's going too far in the camera. So I'm just bringing out that arc shape with more turquoise, deciding how much needs to go in there. This is definitely helping it out. Depending on how far I go. So I'm picking up that line, shrinking, and making that edge a little clearer. Okay, so that one, I'll just give it a little rest. Who knows? Because then you move on to the next painting and you see, oh wow, let me try this with this one. So that's it for part 2. Here are, as you can see, I've added just a couple of things and I'm just saving those for part 3. So stay tuned. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out the Facebook group and much, much more collage papers to come. See you in the next video.